Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to get started now. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. I will be sharing a slideshow. We'll also kind of mix in a demo as well. So it's not going to be all slides. We will mix in a demo of NetFile, just how to log in and how to get to your Form 700. Okay, so let's begin. So before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping items. I want to start with, just to avoid any confusion, this information session is not mandatory to attend. Once again, it is not mandatory to attend. It is also not the annual ethics training that every Form 700 filer is now required to take. This is an information session about Form 700 for designated filers. So if you think you're going to get credit for the ethics training, that is not correct. Ethics training is done within the NetFile system, the same place that you will be submitting your Form 700. Okay, so just want to make that clear from the get-go. So today's session is being recorded, and the recording will be available at sfethics.org. Attendee microphones will automatically be muted during the presentation, so there will be no ad hoc questions during the presentation or anything. Everyone will be muted except for the presenters. During the Q&A segment, we will be reading and responding to questions that were submitted by the filers before the session started. Within the email that we sent out to everyone to register, along with the registration form itself, it had instructions that please submit your questions beforehand. Due to the volume of attendees, we will not be able to answer questions, one-off questions from everyone. So if your question did not get into the Microsoft form beforehand, it will not be a part of the QA session, but no worries. You can always submit questions through our support portal. We're happy to help at any time. I did notice that some of the questions that were submitted beforehand were very specific questions, specific to someone's statement of economic interest. We really don't want to go over specifics during this because there is a lot of attendees. So for those questions, we did reach out and ask if the person that submitted them could open a support ticket. And we're happy to work with you. It's just we want to pick the right venue to work with you in. So Kyle is, sorry, there will be the support portal link will be added to the chat right now. Kyle will add it. But yeah, any questions, please open a support case. We will be in contact with you, and we will work with you one-on-one for any questions that you have. All right, we'll move on to the next slide. We'll talk just a little bit about the agenda here. We're going to talk about the overview of the Form 700. We're going to talk about the annual ethics training, which is new this year. We will talk about how to file your Form 700 and take the annual ethics training. There'll be a bit of a demo, as I mentioned earlier. Not everyone probably heard that, but there will be a bit of a demo logging into NetFile. We'll go through each schedule just to give everyone a feel of what it looks like, especially to people that have never filed before. We're going to talk about what's reported on the Form 700 after our demo. So we will go through each schedule and give examples of what should be disclosed, what should not be disclosed for each schedule. We will talk about what resources are out there for designated filers and filer support. And then we will go into our question and answer session where we have a good amount of questions that were asked and we have answers for them. So we'll go over each one of those. There's around 20 or so, a little more than 20 questions and answers. So we will definitely go through those as well. Great. We will now be moving to the next slide and just talk about the The Statement of Economic Interest, also known as the Form 700. So per the Political Reform Act, state and local agencies must adopt a conflict of interest code that identifies all officials and employees within the agency who make governmental decisions based on the positions that they hold. Individuals who are designated in the conflict of interest code who are identified as making or participating in making governmental decisions must disclose their financial interest as specified by their position's disclosure category. These disclosures are made in a form called the Statement of Economic Interest, also known as Form 700. Annual statements of economic interest are required to be filed by public officials and designated employees throughout California each spring, which is the topic of today's session. Additionally, the Form 700 must be filed within 30 days of assuming office and within 30 days of leaving office. This form provides transparency and ensures accountability in two ways. First, it provides necessary information to the public about official personal financial interests to ensure that officials are making decisions in the best interest of the public and not enhancing their personal finances. Second, it serves as a reminder to the public official of potential conflicts of interest so that officials can abstain from making or participating in making governmental decisions that are deemed a conflict of interest. So this is done throughout the state. It's not just San Francisco. It is done throughout the state. We'll move on to the next slide and talk a little bit about who files the Form 700. So elected officials, department heads, board members, and commissioners, they all file the Form 700. And designated employees and consultants also filed the Form 700. So this information session is geared towards designated employees and consultants. And these are employees whose positions have been designated in the city's conflict of interest code and must file. All filers complete their statement of economic interest online through an e-filing system called NetFile. And you might ask yourself, well, how do positions get added to the conflict of interest code? Well, every other year, there is a citywide process where departments review and update their designated positions. We just had a code review this last year. So we won't have one this year, but there will be another one in 2026 as well. So it happens every other year. And this is departments looking at their positions. This is not the San Francisco Ethics Commission saying, hey, these positions need to go into the conflict of interest code. These are your departments doing this, saying what positions are designated positions because your departments know best. All right, let's move on. So something new this year is the annual ethics training. This is brand new for designated filers. This is something that is required for all designated filers now. So everyone on this call, every Form 700 filer, every designated filer will have to do the annual ethics training. So let's talk a little bit about it. So part of Proposition D that was passed by voters in March of 2024 contained this annual ethics training. And essentially, this extends the requirement to all Form 700 filers. In the past, the commissioners, board members, elected officials, department heads, they all were taking this training already within that file. It was required for them. Now it is required for everyone. The annual ethics training is in the NetFile system, and the deadline for filers to complete this training is the same as the deadline to file the Statement of Economic Interest, which this year is April 1st, 2025. So your Form 700 Statement of Economic Interest is due April 1st, due by April 1st. Your annual ethics training, also done within that file, is due by April 1st as well. Now, the annual ethics training, it's quite simple. There's three main steps to it, I'll say. It takes about an hour and a half, and what it consists of is a video, which is the bulk of the time, and then there is a short 15-question quiz after the video, And then there is a declaration form that you have to sign saying that you completed the training. The quiz and the declaration form take minutes to do, while the video is the longest part. So just make sure when you're going through this, you watch the video, do the quiz, and sign the form. If you don't do all three of those things, you don't get credit for it, and you will end up contacting the Ethics Commission asking why it's not showing up. It's because you did not complete one of those steps. So it's not just watch the video and turn it off. It's watch the video, do the quiz, sign the declaration form. 3 things. All right. Now, we're going to talk about due dates on this slide. So when you assume office, basically meaning when you start your position, you have 30 days to complete your Form 700 and your ethics training. This Form 700 is a 1-year look back from your assuming office date. We also have the annual Statement of Economic Interest, Form 700, and ethics training. This is pretty much what we're covering during this session. This is due no later than April 1st, as we just mentioned. And this annual filing covers the year before. This is just like filing taxes. So in 2025, right now, when you fill out your annual Form 700, you are covering calendar year 2024, January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. It's looking back. And also, when you leave office, you are also required to file a Form 700 within 30 days after leaving office. Now, please note that if you assumed office between October 1st, 2024 and April 1st, 2025, and filed an assuming office Form 700 and took your annual or your assuming office ethics training, you will not need to also file the annual Form 700 or take the annual ethics training this year. You will be done until next year. So if you filed in between, or if you assumed office in between these dates, you should not see the annual Form 700 or annual ethics training on your NetFile account. If you do, please reach out to us and we will definitely take a look with you to see why you are seeing that, but nobody here should see that. You're basically set for a year if you did your assuming, and you're assuming Form 700 and your annual ethics training. I also want to note that the annual Form 700 and the annual ethics training is already available on your NetFile account. So you don't have to wait till the last minute. You can complete these right now if you want. It's actually been on your account since January. So we have a good amount of people that have already completed their Form 700. That's great. And took their annual ethics training. That's fantastic. They are all set. They don't have to worry about anything for this year anymore. They already completed it. So it's there. You can log in now and see it. Great. We're going to move on. So now we're going to just talk about how to file your Form 700 and take the annual ethics training. If you would like, you can follow along in a separate tab. You don't have to, but you can definitely follow along and just with what I'm saying here. So first step, I'm going to show you kind of a demo on this in a few minutes as well. But the first step is just to navigate to the San Francisco Ethics Commission page, and that's sfethics.org. On the homepage of the Ethics Commission, you will see a banner that says it's time to file Form 700 and complete training requirements. Within that banner, there is a more information button. You click that button, it will take you to a Form 700 information page. In that information page, you will see a link. You'll see a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge, like you do on this slide. And it will say Form 700 filers. If you click on that link or on that picture, either one, the link or the picture, it will take you to another Form 700 filing information page. And on that filing information page, you will see a button that says e-file your Form 700. It'll be a blue button, just like what you see on the slide. You click that blue button and it will take you to the NetFile login page, which looks like this. This is NetFile. This is a web-based program, so you don't need to be on a city computer, or like you can do this from your laptop. You can access it anywhere. This is not something that you need to be on the city's VPN for or anything. This is just a web-based application. And this is where you log in to complete your filing requirements. I do want to say, please note that paper submissions are not accepted. They have not been accepted since January 2022. So it's been a few years. We just can't accept them. Everything has to be e-filed through NetFile. So please do not send us PDF scans of your Form 700. We cannot do anything with them. So we will tell you that as well and remind you that you need to electronically file. So yeah, you just get to this page, you enter your email address and your password. And if you don't know your password, that's okay. Or if you lost your password, no problem. There is a lost your password link that is highlighted on this slide. You just click that and it will take you to another page where you enter your email address, click submit, and you will an email will be sent to you with instructions on how to reset your password. Okay, once you log in, and I'm going to do this live in a moment, live in a test environment, but live nonetheless, you will see a filer dashboard. So this is essentially your own personal filer dashboard. You'll see your name at the top. You'll see a filer ID. Please do not get this confused with your DSW number. That is not what it is. It will say SFO dash and then some numbers. That is just your filer ID for the NetFile system, nothing more. At the very top, you will also see your disclosure category. And you can also click on the link next to this disclosure category that says View Category Information Document. What this will actually do is download a PDF that will explain what is required for your disclosure category to what you're required to file. So not in this slide, it says category 1. Not everyone is a category 1. Every department has different categories. Some departments might have five categories while others have 1 or 2. And they all have their own definitions of each category. So please click on this link when you get into your filer dashboard, just to make sure you're following your department's definition of what you should be filing. Also, there will be a filings to complete section, and these are exactly what it says on the page. Just the current filings that you are required to complete. So as you can see here, if this was my account, which it is my test account, I'm currently required to complete. If you look under the form column, it will say FPP 700. That is the form 700. And then the next filing that I am required to complete is the ethics training. Now, very easy. How do you complete these? You want to do these one at a time. So you would just click the create checkbox next to the form 700 and then click the start selected document. That'll get you started on the form 700. So I'm going to take a pause here and stop sharing for a second just so I can log into a test account. So, and we're just going to go through this live. So I'm going to stop sharing this. Okay. Let me see how quickly I can do this. I'm going to minimize that. Find my test account. Perfect. And I'm going to try to share it again. All right, let's see. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see NetFile login page. I believe I am sharing it. Yeah, I am. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the, don't worry about this email address. It's a test account, so it's not going to be my exact email address, but pretend like it is. So I'm just going to click login. This will actually take me to my test account, which is just called John Investigator. It's a test account, so it doesn't have my category here, but yours, all of yours will definitely say your category. The only reason this doesn't is just because it's a test account. And then here are my filings to complete. So I'm going to start with the Form 700, click on the Create button, click Start Selected Document, and it takes me directly to my Form 700 cover page. Now, the cover page should have everything already completed for you because your department filing officer would have filled this out for you already. It's going to have your business address, your business phone number, your email address. It's going to have your position. It's going to have your jurisdiction. You should not have to touch any of this. So it's already going to say County of San Francisco, and it's going to have the type of statement and the correct dates and everything. You should not have to touch any of this. You should see green check marks all along. Maybe it might be missing the address. You could put it, you have to put in an address, so please put in your business address, but hopefully the filing officers did everything for you. You shouldn't have to add things. I've had people ask, well, which one do I check off here? You don't have to touch any of that. As long as it says San Francisco in there, you're good under county. People try to add dates in here. You don't have to touch it. The dates are absolutely correct. All right. So this is very easy. This is a cover page. Again, hopefully you won't have to touch any of this. If anything, you may have to put a mailing address and a phone number. That's about it. We're going to go through each one of these schedules in NetFile, but I'm also going to, once I go back to the slideshow, I'm also going to go through specifics for each schedule. So just bear with me as we're going to go through specifics, but I want to walk through NetFile as well. So we'll go through specifics as far as disclosures later. We're walking through NetFile right now. Right here is where you would go through each schedule. Up at the top under where it says Form 700 links. There are also NetFile video tutorials. Please feel free to watch them. These are NetFile videos. It tells you how to walk through it as well. There's some NetFile documents that has a user guide in there. If you have any questions, you can always just look at the documentation. And there's also some cool links to FPPC documents, which is Fair Political Practices Commission. It's the state level in Sacramento, state level disclosure for state filers. And there's also down here, oh, it's actually not there. Oh, probably because this is the test environment. In the real environment, there will be a link to our support to the San Francisco Ethics Commission support portal that you can absolutely click and open up a support case if you have any questions. Don't feel like reading the documentation. That's okay. We will help you. Okay, so let's go through each schedule now. You can go through them one by one. However, if you don't have anything that changed since last year and you filed this last year, it actually saves all of your information from the last time you filed. So if you don't have to make any updates, you can get through this really quickly and just click review draft and e-file, and it will be exactly the same as what you did last year. So you don't have to go through each one of these unless you need to make an update or add something. So let's go to schedule A1, which is the first schedule, and it's very simple. Just by clicking on schedule A1, You can add, you'll see the required information that you can add in here. And then once you're done, you actually click save transaction. It will save right here where it says save schedule A1 transactions. You will actually see something there. And if that's the only one you have to add, great. Click next and it will take you to schedule A2. If you need to add another investments, stock, bonds, or other interests, you can continue to do that. So just continue to add into either text or into all these required field values and save them and keep moving forward for however many you need to add. Let's say we added one. Let's move on to schedule A2. Again, very simple. This is just where you add, this is income assets of business interests and trusts where ownership is 10% or greater. Again, we'll get into details of these in the slideshow as soon as we're done with the net file, but just want to show you what it looks like in net file because it was requested by multiple people. Again, required fields, fill them out. If you need to add more than one, that's fine. You can. You save the transaction, and this will actually blank out, and you will just start again. We will move on to the next schedule, which is Schedule B, which is real property. Once again, straightforward. There are required fields: street address, city, fair market value, things like that. Just enter all your required fields and either save the transaction or move on to the next one, which is Schedule C. Schedule C is income received. Lots of, not a lot, just a few required fields here. Like salary goes in here. Again, we'll get into details right after we go through all of this. Move on to Schedule C Part 2. And I think everyone gets the idea that each schedule is just all right here under the Form 700 links. When you are finished, you're going to click Review, Draft, and E-File. I didn't fill anything out, so what this will do is bring up a form, PDF form. PDF form that basically tells me everything on my cover page, right? And that I filled out, I disclosed nothing, so I had no reportable interest. That's exactly what I did in here. If you filled out something, you will see a checkbox next to whatever schedule you filled it out. And also more pages that will show the details of what you filled out. But right now it's one page because I did not fill out any schedule. And then it will have, again, from my cover page, mailing address, business mailing address, email address, phone number, business phone number. This is just for you to review. Once you review it, you want to click, yes, take me to the last step if everything looks correct. If everything does not look correct, you just go back and say, no, I want to make changes. And it will take you back to whatever schedule you want to go to. Very straightforward. Just by this menu right here, you can go wherever you need to. But say everything is perfectly fine. Click take me to the last step. This is where you e-file your statement. It's going to have the date, today's date, because this is the date you're going to e-file it, so sign it essentially. It's going to have your name, make sure that your name is in there. It's going to have your email address as well, make sure it's in there. If you are ready to go, you just click the e-file statement button. You will a page will pop up to confirm that your e-filing is done. That is it. You have filed your Form 700 once you do that. I'm going to not file this because it is just a test account, but you can always go back to your home page as well. I do want to show this because I will talk about amendments in a moment, but as you can see, I didn't file it. I just clicked back on the home page. It's not showing in my e-filing history because it has not been filed. If it was filed, it would show up under e-filing history. Excuse me. However, it's still showing on my filings to complete, essentially because I didn't click e-file. But the checkbox is gone. So what do I do? Well, you're going to see an edit and a delete button. If I click delete, it's going to remove everything that I did. So try to avoid clicking the delete button. To get back in there, you just click the edit button and it will take you right back to your Form 700 exactly how you left it. So everything is saved. Everything is saved on what you did, and it will be saved. And so you can go back in there, do that as well. Okay. It's the same exact thing with the training as well. I'm not going to click into the training because once I click in there, it's going to be like one slide and then the training video starts. So like I said, the training is a video, a quiz, and a declaration form, just like your e-filing, just like that last page we looked at. You got to e-file a declaration form, essentially sign a form saying you watched the video. It's just those 3 simple steps, but you do the exact same thing where you click create on the checkbox, start selected document, and it will take you right into the training. I will say that you can exit the training and kind of just like I did with the Form 700, you exit it, close out the window on accident or maybe on purpose. When you come back in, you will still see the training up here. You will see the edit and delete next to it. Again, avoid the delete link unless you really have to use it. I would avoid it. If you click the edit button or the edit link, it will actually take you back to the training exactly where you left off. You're not gonna have to start fresh. It will take you back to that very same spot in the video that you left off. Maybe you finished the video and just didn't want to do the quiz. It will take you back to the quiz. So just keep that in mind with the annual ethics training. Okay, that's pretty much it for NetFile and how to access your Form 700 and your ethics training. I'm going to stop sharing again and go back to the slides. All right, give me a moment, please. Okay. Okay, I'm going to share the slides again. Hopefully this works. Okay, so we're back to the slides. We went over the filer dashboard, so we're going to move on to the next slide, which is how to amend a filed Form 700. So if you realize at any point that you made a mistake or maybe omitted something on your Form 700, that's not a big deal. You can always file an amendment to your Form 700 from your NetFile dashboard. Amendments can be made to current or prior year's filings. Amendments can be made at any time without penalty and should be filed as soon as the discrepancy is known. So if you realize you made a mistake or omitted something, you should try to file an amendment right away. Don't wait like 6 months to do it or a month or whatever. Just try to get it done. It is important to amend the relevant year's filing. Under your e-filing history, depending on how long you've been filing Form 700s, you may see a lot of Form 700s. Just make sure that you're amending the correct one. Okay, the screenshot on this page kind of shows like this is amending this year's Form 700. So it was it tells you the date that it was created is the 2nd of January 2025. That's when I filed my Form 700. I'm going to click amend next to that one, and it will be for this year's filing. And when it comes to amendments, only amended pages will be visible, not the entire original filing. So once you're done with your amendment, you may have only amended something in like Schedule B. Under your e-filing history, you'll see the original filing and you'll also see the amendment. If you go to click to view the amendment, you're only going to see what you did in Schedule B, not the entire original filing. In order to see the entire original filing, you would view the actual, not the amendment, the actual original filing. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. And so now we're going to get into just some details about each schedule, some examples of what are reportable, what are not reportable. And again, these are what you're going to see on these screens. This is not every example because it would be quite a lot to talk about every example. These are just some examples of some common examples of reportable, what's reportable on each schedule. So I'm not going to read every word through all of these because they're on the slides, and please read along with me. But I will read the majority of these slides. So Schedule A1, these investments, this is where you have ownership interest of less than 10%. And so investment, it means a financial interest in any business entity, including a consulting business or other independent contracting business that is located in, doing business in, planning to do business in, or that has done business during the previous 2 years in your agency's jurisdiction, in which you, your spouse, or registered domestic partner, or dependent children had a direct, indirect, or beneficial interest totaling $2,000 or more at any time during the reporting period. Remember, the reporting period for the filing that's due this year is calendar year 2024, January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. Everything that you're reporting is for that calendar year, not your entire life, that calendar year. So some reportable investments include stocks, bonds, warrants, and options, including those held in margin or brokerage accounts and managed investment funds. So these are individual stocks. Say you own $200 in Apple stock. Technically, that would not be a reportable interest. Why? Because it doesn't total $2,000 or more. It needs to total $2,000 or more. Now, if you owned $2,500 in Apple stock, you would report that because it totals $2,000 or more and it is a stock. And Apple, it meets all this criteria. They do business in San Francisco. Another reportable investment is like a sole proprietorship, your own business or your spouse or registered domestic partner's business. Say you have a business, but you own less than 10% in it. It goes under Schedule A1. And also partnerships like a law firm or a family farm. These are all just examples of reportable investments. I'm going to move on to the next slide, and we're going to talk about what you're not required to disclose on Schedule A1. So you are not required to disclose government bonds, diversified mutual funds, and certain funds similar to diversified mutual funds, such as exchange traded funds. It's a common question we get actually is, do we need to report ETFs or exchange traded funds? No, you do not. It's not required that you disclose exchange traded funds. You're not required to disclose bank accounts, savings accounts, money market accounts, cryptocurrency, insurance policies, annuities, commodities, shares in a credit union. This list goes on. So these are all examples of what you are not required to disclose on Schedule A1. So hopefully this gives everyone an idea of what they should be disclosing and what they should not be disclosing. I do understand that some of these finances can get very complicated and very specific. We're here to help. So please, if you need any of our help, Kyle will add our support link to the chat again. Just open a support case. We'll go through all the specifics that you have. All right, let's talk about Schedule A2. This is investments, income, and assets of business entities or trusts where ownership is 10% or greater. So we're essentially using Schedule A2 to report investments in a business entity or trust including living trust, which you, your spouse, registered domestic partner, and dependent children together or separately had a 10% greater interest totaling $2,000 or more during the reporting period. You should also report on Schedule A2 investments and real property held by that business entity or trust if your pro rata share of the investment or real property interest was $2,000 or more during the reporting period. This is where most people, if you're going to put something in A2, it's like most common things I've seen are trust or living trust. And also another common thing I've seen is someone that owns a business. They have a family business in which they they own it with their family. They own more than 10%. It totals $2,000 or more. It's doing business in San Francisco. It might be in San Francisco. It fits all this criteria. That's what Schedule A2 is about. There's this one's pretty cut and dry. A1's a little more can get a little more complex, but with trusts or businesses that you own, that's essentially what goes into A2. So there's not a whole lot of examples of what to disclose and not to disclose. So we will move on to Schedule B. And Schedule B is interest in real property. This is where you report interest in real property located in your agency's jurisdiction in which you, your spouse, registered domestic partner, or dependent children had a direct, indirect, or beneficial interest totaling $2,000 or more anytime during the reporting period. Real property is also considered to be within the jurisdiction of a local government agency if the property or any part of the property is located within 2 miles outside the boundaries of the jurisdiction or within 2 miles of any land owned or used by the local government agency. An example of that would be you have a house that is within 2 miles of the San Francisco airport. So technically it's not in San Francisco, but it is within 2 miles of the San Francisco airport, which is land owned or used by a local government agency. You would report that in real property. There's also some variables to that as well, but say it's a rental house, you would report it in Schedule B. So what are some examples here that you would report under Schedule B? So an ownership interest in property, a deed of trust, easement, or option to acquire property, a leasehold interest, a mining lease, an interest in real property held in a retirement account, and your spouse's or registered domestic partner interests in real property that are legally held separate by him or her. So let's talk about what you are not required to report under Schedule B. So you're not required to report a residence such as home or vacation cabin used exclusively as a personal residence. You do not disclose your personal residence in here. However, there is a little bit of caveat to this. In your residence, if you rent out a room for which you claim a business deduction, it may be reportable. And if it is reportable, you would report the fair market value of the portion claimed as a tax deduction. So you may rent out rooms in your home. You would report that in Schedule B, but just the portion claimed, like the portion that's being rented and claimed as a tax deduction. Again, this part could get complicated and very specific. So we are happy to help. We, just get in contact with the Ethics Commission and we will look at your specific scenario and assist in any way possible. All right, let's move on to Schedule C. And this Schedule C is all about income, loans, and business positions. Essentially, you're reporting the source and amount of gross income over $500 or more you received during the reporting period. Some common examples include salary, salary per diem reimbursement for expenses, including travel payments provided by your employer. This one sticks out and it's community property interest, 50%, in your spouse's or registered domestic partner's income, you do have to report that, and you report the employer's name and all the other required information. You report income from investment, interest, commission income that isn't required to be reported on Schedule A2, gross income from any sale, like if you sold a car or a house, payments on loans that you made to others, rental income not required to be reported on Schedule B. Say that you own a house in, I don't know, Oregon. You're not reporting it on, and it's a rental property in Oregon. Well, you're not reporting it on Schedule B because it's not within your jurisdiction, but you are still getting income from it. So you do report that income on Schedule C. So you're not reporting the real property on Schedule B, but you are reporting the income of the property on Schedule C. All right, and let's move on to what you are not required to report on Schedule C. So you're not required to report salary, reimbursement for expenses or per diem, or Social Security, disability, or other similar benefit payments received by you or your spouse or registered domestic partner from a federal, state, or local government agency. You don't have to report your salary from City and County of San Francisco. That's a local government agency. So that's not something you have to disclose. If your spouse also works for a federal, state, or local government agency, you don't have to report their salary either. You also are not required to report stock dividends from an income from a sale of stock unless the source can be identified, and also income from a PERS retirement account. Not required to report that. Okay, we're getting through the schedules here. We're going to move on. Just 2 more schedules to go, actually. So let's move on to Schedule D. Schedule D is essentially around gifts. And a gift is anything of value for which you have not provided equal or greater consideration to the donor. Gift is reportable if its fair market value is $50 or more. Now, in addition to that, gifts totaling $50 or more received during the reporting period from a single source must be reported. Say you received 3 gifts worth $20 from one person during the reporting period. That is $60 total. That's more than $50. You have to report that. And it is also the acceptance of the gift, not the use of it, that imposes your reporting obligation. If you accept a gift, you report it. Some commonly reported gifts are like tickets to sporting or entertainment events, tickets to an amusement park, parking passes not used for official agency business, food, beverages, and accommodation, including those provided in direct connection with your attendance at a convention, conference, meeting, social event, or light gathering, rebates or discounts not made in the regular course of business to members of the public without regard to official status, and also forgiveness of a loan received by you. Let's take a look at what you are not required to disclose, and it's a good, fairly long list. So gifts that were not used and that within 30 days after you received the gift were returned to the donor or delivered to a charitable organization or government agency without being claimed by you as a charitable contribution for tax purposes, you don't have to disclose that. So say you return the gift after 5 days to the donor. You didn't accept it in that case because it was returned to the donor, or it was accepted and then donated to charity within 30 days. Totally fine. You don't have to report that. Gifts from your spouse or registered domestic partner, child, parent, grandparent, grandchild, brother, sister, essentially gifts from your immediate family. Gifts of similar value exchanged between you and an individual other than a lobbyist registered to lobby your agency on holidays, birthdays, or similar occasions. So say you have a friend that you exchange birthday gifts with every year, and they're always of a similar value, or they were at least in the last year. You don't have to report that, unless obviously your friend is a lobbyist registered to lobby your agency. Then that's a different story. But yeah, if it's a friend that's not a lobbyist registered to lobby your agency, you're fine. Excuse me. Gifts of informational material provided to assist you in the performance of your official duties. For example, books, pamphlets, calendars, educational seminars, like just informational material, doesn't count as a gift, or it counts as a gift. You don't need to report it. A monetary bequest or inheritance. However, inherited investments or real property may be reportable on other schedules. So you may have to report it on a different schedule on Form 700, but not under gifts. You may have to report it under Schedule B, for example, if you inherited property. Personalized plaques or trophy, excuse me. Personalized plaques or trophies with an individual value of less than $250, and gifts given by an individual who is not a lobbyist, where it is clear the gift was made because of an existing personal or business relationship unrelated to your official position. All right. We're going to move on to the last schedule, talk about Schedule E. This is really more about travel payments, advances, and reimbursements. So this includes like advancements and reimbursements for travel, including lodging and meals. You're not required to disclose travel payments received from any state, local, or federal government agency for which you provided services equal or greater in value than the payments received. Payment for travel from another local, state, or federal government agency and related per diem expenses when the travel is for education, training, or other interagency programs and purposes. So you're going to a training maybe in Southern California or somewhere, and another agency, say another local agency pays for your travel. You don't have to report that because you're going for a training for interagency purposes. Yeah, travel payments received from your employer in the normal course of your employment that are included in the income reported on Schedule C. So you don't have to basically double disclose. You disclose something on Schedule C, you're not going to disclose it on Schedule E as well. And the last one is the travel payment that was received from a nonprofit entity exempt from taxation under IRS Section 501c3, for which you provided equal or greater consideration, such as reimbursement for travel on business for a 501c3 organization for which you are a board member. Okay, that was a lot that we went through, a lot of examples here. Again, you don't have to furiously write these down. This is all being recorded and will be on the Ethics Commission website. There are a few more slides that we're going to talk about, not too much, so thanks for hanging in there, and we will get to the Q&A session. We do need to talk about late filing and enforcement. So what if you don't file your Form 700 or take your annual ethics training, or file late or take the annual ethics training late? I know that nobody here is going to do this, but we do need to talk about it. So there's no provision in the law to extend Form 700 or annual ethics training deadlines. You know, if a deadline falls on a weekend or holiday, statement is due on the following business day. That's not the case this year. The deadline's on a Tuesday. It's Tuesday, April 1st. That's the day I can't, not I, the Ethics Commission can't, give extensions for deadlines. There's just no provisions in the law for that. So being on sick leave or being on sabbatical or being on vacation or just forgot to do it or my internet wasn't working, they're not exceptions. Like this is why, you get from January 1st until April 1st, plenty of time to file your Form 700 and do your annual ethics training. So the lesson here really is please file on time, because there's nothing that the Ethics Commission can do for you if you miss the deadline as far as extending the deadline. If you do file late, there are potential late fees of $10 per day, up to the cumulative amount stated in the late Form 700, or $100, whichever is greater. So there are potential for late fees. Non-filers may be subject to disciplinary and or enforcement actions with potential fines of up to $5,000 per violation, or 3 times the cumulative amount not properly reported. In addition, members of boards and commissions who fail to file their required filings in a timely manner are disqualified from all participation and voting on matters listed in their board and commission meeting agendas. So this is something that is very serious, and there are potential fines. So if there are any questions, please reach out to us. We do not want any of you to talk with our enforcement teams. We are here to help you not meet our enforcement teams. So please open support cases, ask your questions, and ask them sooner rather than later. It's always not a good idea to wait till the last minute to file these things, because you never know. Your internet might go out on the day that you're trying to file it, and it's the day before it's due or the day that it's due. So just get these Form 700s and trainings done within time. All right, let's move on. Quick slide about resources and how to contact us. Kyle is going to add a couple of links to the chat. The first one will be just the San Francisco Ethics Commission website for filers. It has a ton of information in there. Check it out. We have, excuse me, a lot of various links that are helpful, a lot of documentation. There's some FPPC links in there if you want to look at any FPPC articles on Form 700s. It's all there. Second link is our support portal. I know I stressed this multiple times during this call session, but we're here to help, and it's very easy to get a hold of us. Open a support case. We will respond to everyone as quickly as possible. This is part of our job, so ask for help and we will help you. So that is it for the slides. So I just want to say thanks for everyone for joining. We will move on to the Q&A session in a moment. Again, the Q&A session is not going to be live questions. I mentioned this in the beginning of the session. In the invitation or in the email that was sent out, and also in the registration form, there was a place that you could add questions to ask. A lot of people did. We will not be taking live questions because of the size of the group. There's literally hundreds of people here, so it would be kind of a nightmare to do that. But I'm going to stop sharing right now, and what I'm going to do is stop the recording as well.